All right, good morning, everybody. And what's today's topic on coffee and questions? Well, I get a lot of questions sometimes because I do a lot of wood turning on the kind of glue that I use or the kind of cyanoacrylate glue that I use, CA glue. And I use several different types for different reasons, but I have them really narrowed down to, the two that I use, which are pictured right here to my right and my left. Nothing wrong with the Harbor Freight super glue. It's not the best glue. All of these glues are manufactured differently, and some of them are much better than others, so they're not all the same. Now, I keep probably 3 packs. These are about $1 a pack at Harbor Freight, and these are easy because if the top sticks or something goes wrong, I just throw it out because you get like 3 for $1. But these are great to keep in your toolbox and to have handy for like real quick small projects to use. And it is real handy. And I do have, like I said, these in the toolbox for those reasons. But the two primary glues that I use when it comes to CA glue, I use the thin. They make a thin, a medium, and a thick viscosity super glue. And you can get whether it's Stick Fast or Starbond. These are my two favorites, and I'll explain to you why in a minute and which one's better. But each company makes the thin, the thick, and the medium. So it depends on what your use is and what you feel that you're going to be able to need. In the wood turning and stuff that I do, you get hairline cracks. So I use the thin. Okay, so we're going to get right into the questions and answers part of this and things that we discussed on the forums regarding super glue and why one is probably a little bit more superior over the other, and help you make some decisions maybe. So no long intros, let's just jump right into it. Here we go. All right, so then other than, like what's in the toolbox, like I said, these are the two that I use. And I use the thin most of the time. Now, like I said, depending on what you're doing, you can get the medium or the thick viscosity kind. But what it does is like if you have a wood turning and you have a hairline crack, and I'm doing something on the lathe, I can fill the crack with like sawdust or you can get ground turquoise, you can get ground black onyx stuff, you can fill it with pretty much anything. And then I use this thin CA, and it will bond the hell out of it, and it'll make it stick beyond belief. And then I can sand it, and I can finish doing the finish work on whatever it is that I'm making. That's what I primarily use the better quality CA glues for. Like I said, they are manufactured to different specifications, and some are better than others. The two that I primarily buy are the Stick Fast and the Starbond. Now, you definitely want to wear gloves when you're using this stuff. It will bond your skin together like in 2 seconds flat. I would also, besides the caution of, wearing gloves, make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. This is some nasty, toxic smelling stuff. The first time that, you breathe this in, you'll know it. It's, so well-ventilated area. Definitely. Or you can wear a mask. You can wear a mask if you got one laying around. It's a vapor mask. You could do that too. Let's say I have a wood turning. This will give you an example on the wood turning where you might, use it other than just filling cracks. Well, if you have a piece of wood and they call it, being really punky, where it's like soft or it looks like it's going to all crumble and fall apart on you, but you're doing something, like I said, in the area of wood turning, and you don't want that to happen, this will solidify it. All you got to do is just put a bunch of drops in there, and this stuff will create, like I said, it's almost like a concrete hardness to where you can sand it and do other things with it. You can fill it, but it will strengthen up that area, and then you can go on to keep turning, and hopefully you don't chip it all out and stuff. But that's another good use for it. Well, the other thing I would caution you about, if you're doing like wood turning again, is that if you use this, you put some kind of finish like around that cracked area or wax or something like that, because if you get it on the wood itself, you're going to have to do a lot of sanding because you want to make sure you get all of this off before you put lacquer or you put varnish or anything on what you're doing, because it will show right on through it. So you got to really sand the hell out of it, when you're done, if you've slopped it over into an area that you didn't want it in. Yeah, I'm reading on here where a guy uses it when he turns pen sleeves, like writing pen sleeves, and it makes an excellent finish for that. Yeah, it does. I've done pen turnings before. I've used a lot of different finishes, and then you give the pens away as gifts and stuff like that, or you sell them or whatever you're doing. A lot of times, these friction finishes that you're using, after a while of people writing and using the pen, it seems to wear off. Whereas, this CA glue, it won't. And there's techniques for doing it. I didn't really want to go down that path and get into that right now. There's plenty of YouTube videos if you're into pen turning I mean, I would tell you, go take a look at those and you'll see, yes, it does work. It's an incredible finish for pens. I agree. What are other things it can be used for in and around the shop? Well, you can use this glue on plywood, rubber, PVC, plastic, fabric, paper. It'll actually bond paper together if you wanted it to. Leather, canvas. It's great for quick repairs on so many things. That's the reason why I keep these little tubes from Harbor Freight in the toolbox. The bigger bottles, no, there's a way to store them. I keep them in a small, like, Ziploc bag, and I put them in the refrigerator. And this will extend the shelf life. I was reading some of the manufacturer's comments. It can actually extend the shelf life of the larger bottles out to like a year, maybe a little bit more. You'll know when it quits doing its bonding thing, but I haven't had that problem. As long as I do what they say, Ziploc bag, in the refrigerator, you're fine. I've even had it in there without the Ziploc bag, and it does extend the shelf life, by a lot. Well, okay, yeah, I have slopped it over and made a mess of things, like on a wood turning project, and thought, oh, crap, now I'm going to sand this thing forever. You can use a scraper. It's a specific tool on a wood lathe, and you can do a very light cut, very light. And then when you feel like you've gotten most of it off of there by doing the light cutting, and as long as you're not worried about changing the dimensions on the wood turning, then still sand the hell out of it, and your finish will be fine. It's like I said, sometimes you slop it over. There's precautions you can take, like I said, by putting wax on all the other areas around it, and then when you add it, if it does slop over, it won't stick to the wax. I mean, you could try that technique. And then again, you have to be careful because the wax that's on there, you got to make sure you've cleaned this piece of wood incredibly well, or the wax will interfere with whatever finish you're putting on there. Hopefully I answered that question for you. Yeah, they're different prices. I'm going to put up, I'll change right now, and I'll show you each one of the Amazon ads, and you're going to see that they're different ounce bottles. But you can figure the price per ounce and then figure out what the best value is for you, and we'll talk about the specifics in just a sec. Let me go ahead and change the picture. All right, so now when I'm on Amazon and I'm buying other things, I will come across Stick Fast when I'm running low, and I buy a bottle of it. This is good glue. It works great. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. It works great on all my wood turnings and stuff like that, and I'm able to buy it a little bit cheaper. Now, there are occasions when I run across a good price on it, I'll buy the Starbond, and I'll switch the picture here in a minute. Now, Starbond's a little bit more expensive, but it also, if you want to take a look at I don't want to say just the quality, because there's nothing wrong with Stick Fast. Starbond is probably the best I've ever used, probably because of the way it's manufactured. I don't know. I mean, you can try the differences and you'll see, but this is getting kind of nitpicky about stuff when you get right down to it, because there's nothing wrong with the Stick Fast. This is the price at $16, $17 that it's currently selling at. Now let me change the picture and let's talk about the Starbond for a second. Okay, now this is one of the Starbond. Again, this is a smaller container of it. This is a 2-ounce size bottle, and you're still paying 10, 11 bucks. Depending on what you're doing, it can last you quite a while, though. And you can see it comes with these extra tips and the little stopper on top. So it just depends. This is the far superior cyanoacrylate glue, the CA glue, that I've ever tried. I mean, it's a fantastic manufactured product. The question is, what's the consistency on the thin? Well, it's the consistency of water. And then, of course, the medium, and then the thick. I don't, there are uses for those. You can look at YouTube videos and stuff like that and find out what other people are using the other ones for. I suppose for, gluing wood, like one piece of wood to another, you might want to use the medium, or the thick. But for that, I use like Titebond or Weld Bond or Gorilla Glue. Something that's a little bit more specific for woodworking. I don't use the CA glues for that, but yes, you can. And I've heard people have had great success with it, so I'm not criticizing using it. I'm just saying I use very specific adhesives when it comes to joining, wood together, like if you're going to make something large and flat. But, for wood turnings and stuff, this works great. And for all around, the house and shop projects, this stuff is very handy to have. Can I keep it in the freezer? No, look, I wouldn't do that. Refrigerator is enough. The manufacturer's suggestions is to store it, around 40 degrees Celsius. So I wouldn't, no, I wouldn't do that. Like I said, it'll keep for a year if you just, put it in the refrigerator. And no, there is a word of caution. If you're going to keep it in your outside refrigerator in your garage or anything like that, make sure you don't have small kids around. This stuff is, can be dangerous. Okay, so if you're working on something where the gap or the gouge is large and you want to fill it, then in that case, yeah, you can still get away using the thin, but you're probably better off at that point of using the thicker CA glue on, if you've really got that big of a crevice or gouge, then I would probably go with the thicker. But at the price, I would just buy it specifically for that. For just all around general use, I just use the thin and it works great. Now, this is a picture here of the thick. But the thick and the thin, I mean, a lot of the prices are the same. But the question is, they also sell an Accelerator. Yeah, they do. Now, okay, people think a lot of times they need to buy the Accelerator. It's a little spritzing bottle, and after you apply the glue, you spritz it with the Accelerator. You don't need to. I've never bought it. I've never had a use for it. All the Accelerator is going to do is make it harden and dry in a split second. And if you just wait a couple of minutes or so, it's going to harden up anyway, and you don't really need the Accelerator. Now, I'm sure people are going to disagree with me. I've seen where pen turners, will sit there and put a coat of CA glue on, spritz it with the Accelerator. Immediately you can sand it because it sets it off in a rock-hard fashion in a split second. I just don't feel the need for it, and I don't want to spend the money on it. I would rather spend the money on buying more of the glue that I need. So, but that's just an opinion. Okay, there's no difference between crazy glue, super glue, yada yada. Well, yeah, there is. I mean, there is a big difference between super glue, crazy glue, and something like this Starbond or the Stick Fast. The standards of manufacturing are much, much higher. I mean, this glue has been put through quality control and everything else to become a superior CA glue. But again, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the little squeeze tubes of, the Harbor Freight stuff. I mean, in my toolbox, and it comes in very handy. You want to tack another piece of material, back to the side of something, or for some minor, real quick fix project. So I do have a use for those, and they get good ratings, and it is good super glue or good CA glue. But this is a superior kind of CA glue. I mean, you can read the reviews. I mean, it's fantastic glue. It's just a much higher quality, made glue all the way around. Is it waterproof? Yeah, after it cures, it's definitely waterproof. Sometimes on the forum I'll read whether, whatever people are using it on, they have trouble getting it to stick, and then they criticize the heck out of the glue. Okay, sometimes it's not the actual glue itself. Try roughing up the area before you apply it and try to glue something together. And what do I mean by that? Get a piece of 100 grit, 120 or even 150 or some kind of sandpaper like that, and then scuff the hell out of both areas that you're going to bond together, and then wipe them off, clean them, then try it. And the odds are it'll stick then, whereas maybe it didn't stick before because you had some kind of a film finish on there that was resistant to the glue. But it's not the glue, okay? It was your prep work. And so people have a hard time admitting, oh yeah, hey, gee, I didn't do that. That's fine. Just go back, try it, and I think you'll find that it works. But it's not going to work on all kinds and everything. I mean, but it works on so many different things. It becomes so handy just to have, these little dollar, for $1 you get 3 of them. Throw them in your toolbox. They're very, very handy when you need them, and it's a quick fix, like I said. So I don't know what more to say about that. Yeah, I had a friend. I mean, it was a kind of a joke. He goes, I don't believe that the glue's that strong. So he took one drop and pinched his fingers together. Yeah, it stuck him, and then he got a little worried about how to take them apart. So what do you use? You use a little bit of acetone. Acetone will dissolve CA glue, and it'll come apart on you if you get it on your fingers. You can use it to clean them off of your fingers if you happen to slop some on your hand. If you don't, you're going to pick at it, and you're going to do a lot of things before you finally get that stuff to come off. I mean, it will bond to you like you wouldn't believe. But yes, you can get it off. Use a little bit of acetone. That's what I find works the best. There may be other products out there. Somebody can drop in a comment, other things they've used, to release the bond. But, anyway, acetone works. Just be careful. That's why I said wear gloves. Filling voids and stuff like that. I mean, if you have a random orbital sander, you can use the sanding dust. I mean, and that usually will blend in with the wood itself. Like let's say that there's a crack there. I'd put a little bit of CA glue in the crack, wait a couple seconds, put sawdust in there, and then go over it again. And then those two things will bond together rock hard. Now, you can use crushed turquoise. You can use crushed black onyx. You can use coffee grounds that are ground up super fine. They make red coral in packets. There's some of these wood turning forums, or like Rockler and these people. They sell all these different kinds of crushed stones. You can use crushed and fine powdered glass. There's lots of things. You can fill it with whatever you want, and then use your turning tools or sanding, paper, and sand it down. It'll, sometimes it makes a spectacular finish. Yeah, well, with the Starbond, I mean, that just means the glue's working. Somebody made the comment like, "Hey, I bought some of this Starbond. I filled a crack with it, and this stuff will heat up and actually create, smoke." Yeah, it does. It's very powerful glue, so you want to be careful with it. But yeah, you can actually watch, these little smoke fumes, come up. Yeah, you're right. It can spontaneously combust. So, you want to be careful. What you're using it around, of course. But I haven't had that problem. Okay, I'm running low here on other things to comment about on this. So what are my recommendations? My number one recommendation, of course, is going to be Starbond. I think it's the most superior CA glue that I've ever used or bought. It can be a little pricey, but then again, I'm not using a whole lot of it, so I can get away just by having these smaller bottles on hand. Extend the shelf life by a year by keeping it in the refrigerator. Either put it in a Ziploc bag or you don't. I've done it both ways. I've had good success by keeping it refrigerated. Make sure you wear gloves, keep it in a well-ventilated area, and keep it out of reach of your children for sure. I'm the Home Handyman. I hope you folks enjoyed this quick review on CA glues, and if you have a different experience or you think there's something better, drop it in the comment below. I hope you click subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and keep following me. And we will keep reviewing things that I use in and around the shop, and tools and techniques as I get the time. You folks have a good day. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.